It began as an ordinary evening, quiet streets, scattered storefront lights, and a routine that had never once raised concern. But at 9:12 p.m., on a small town street better known for late-night dog walkers than danger, a single security camera caught something subtle. A detail so small most people would have never noticed it. A woman walking home, pausing near the edge of a parking lot, glancing behind her as though something felt out of place. She didn't run. She didn't appear frightened, but she hesitated, just long enough to signal that something in her environment had shifted. That hesitation would become the final clear image recorded of 27-year-old Mira Langdon before everything changed. Not a struggle, not a sound, just a small moment that seemed ordinary at the time, but later would shape an entire investigation. Mira lived in the town of Overton Ridge, a place with a population small enough for people to recognize familiar faces, yet large enough for strangers to blend in unnoticed. She worked as a junior project coordinator for a small engineering firm. Her life was a patchwork of steady routines. Morning jogs, evening calls with her sister, weekend volunteering at the library, and a quiet habit of stopping by the same corner market after work. She wasn't someone who drew attention. She wasn't someone with conflicts, debts, risky behavior, or complicated relationships. She was the type of person who moved through life with consistency, courtesy, and a gentle presence that people remembered for its sincerity. Her co-workers described her as methodical, thoughtful, and occasionally shy, but always dependable. She was the person who arrived early to prepare meeting notes, who remembered birthdays, who stayed late to help finish shared tasks without being asked. She was close to her family, especially her younger sister, who often joked that Mira was the steady one, the person everyone leaned on for calm advice. Even outside of work, Mira maintained a soft-spoken steadiness that created a sense of trust around her. She had friends, though her circle was small. She preferred quiet gatherings at home over nights out, long walks over loud environments, and deep conversations instead of casual small talk. Nothing in her life seemed unusual. Nothing foreshadowed disruption. But sometimes the smallest decisions, like choosing to walk instead of drive, can place someone in the wrong place at the wrong moment. On March 12th, the day everything unfolded, Mira worked a normal shift. Security footage from her office showed her leaving at 8:56 p.m. carrying a tote bag, a folder of papers, and her usual quiet demeanor. She stopped at the corner market at 9:07 p.m. It was confirmed through receipts that she purchased tea, a sandwich, and a small notepad. She smiled politely at the cashier, said goodnight, and stepped back into the cool evening air. That walk home, normally uneventful, became the focal point of a mystery. Her last known moments were captured by 3 separate surveillance sources: the exterior market camera, a traffic light camera at Merton Avenue, and the grainy parking lot footage from the hardware store across the street. In each angle, Mira was alone. Her pace was relaxed. Nothing appeared out of the ordinary, until that single moment at 9:14 p.m. when she paused mid-step, glanced over her right shoulder, and gently shifted her tote bag closer to her body. It was a subtle gesture, small enough to overlook, significant enough in hindsight to matter. She resumed walking moments later. 2 minutes afterward, she walked out of camera range. And after that point, there was nothing. Her phone stopped responding to towers at 9:19 p.m. Her smartwatch disconnected at the same time. No calls were made. No messages were sent. Mira never arrived home. Her roommate assumed she had stayed late at work. It wasn't until morning, when Mira's alarm sounded repeatedly from her empty bedroom, that alarm began to ripple outward. Calls went unanswered. Her phone remained offline. Her bed had not been slept in. Her tote bag was missing. The food she bought was never opened. At 8:22 a.m., her roommate contacted the police to report her missing. Initially, the police response followed a standard pattern. Adults often leave home voluntarily. Phones die. People stay elsewhere overnight without notifying their roommates. Nothing immediately suggested foul play. Officers visited Mira's workplace, spoke with her colleagues, and reviewed her schedule. Everything appeared orderly. There were no indicators of conflict, no financial stress, no personal turmoil. Still, her consistent habits worked against the idea that she would disappear intentionally. She never missed work without notice. She never ignored texts from her family. And the most unusual detail, Mira's personal planner, something she carried everywhere, was left open on her desk, with a note about a client meeting scheduled for 10 a.m. the next day. She hadn't missed an appointment in 3 years. The case shifted from routine to concerning in less than 24 hours. Friends posted on local forums asking for help searching the path between her workplace and her apartment. Neighbors checked doorbell cameras. Her sister arrived from 2 hours away and gave a tearful statement to police, describing Mira's behavior in the days before she vanished. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming, nothing that signaled a sudden disappearance. A community search was organized the same afternoon. Dozens of volunteers walked through the nearby park, wooded areas, and neighborhood streets. Flyers were posted. Social media alerts spread rapidly. But the search turned up nothing, not even a trace of Mira's belongings. When investigators obtained the first set of surveillance footage, they finally had something resembling a timeline. Mira's trip to the store, her calm walk along Merton Avenue, and that brief hesitation in the parking lot frame. Investigators replayed that clip dozens of times, scanning for shadows, reflections, or movement that might explain her reaction. At first glance, nothing was visible, but at the far edge of the frame, barely noticeable, was a faint blur. A shape, a momentary flicker of something behind Mira. Too distorted to identify, too fleeting to ignore. This became the starting point for a deeper dive. As investigators gathered more footage from surrounding businesses and street cameras, small pieces began to form a pattern. A vehicle, dark-colored, possibly an SUV, appeared in several clips near the route Mira walked home. It moved slowly, maintaining a distance that suggested coincidence rather than pursuit. But the speed was just inconsistent enough to draw attention. Employees at a nearby cafe recalled seeing a dark SUV idling in the alley behind the market around 8:50 p.m., roughly 15 minutes before Mira passed through the area. They remembered it only because the driver seemed to be checking something on the passenger seat repeatedly and never got out of the vehicle. Investigators traced the movement of that SUV across multiple feeds. It appeared at 8:52 p.m., again at 9 p.m., again at 9:12 p.m., and shortly after Mira moved out of frame, the SUV passed the same intersection at 9:16 p.m., heading in the same direction she had walked. Still, none of this was proof. Vehicles overlap, people idle in cars, and the camera angles did not provide a license plate or a clear view of the driver. Meanwhile, investigators focused on Mira's digital footprint. Her phone had disconnected at 9:19 p.m., but there were clues embedded in earlier activity. Her location history showed a consistent route home every night. She didn't deviate. She didn't take shortcuts. The path she followed the night she vanished was identical to the one she took 3 times the week before, except for one detail: the stop in the parking lot. According to her family's testimony, Mira never paused there. She had no reason to. That moment, her hesitation felt increasingly significant. As more clues emerged, the investigation took a psychological turn. Detectives interviewed coworkers, neighbors, and friends to better understand Mira's recent mindset. Several noted she had mentioned someone being around the office building at odd hours, though she never expressed fear, only mild concern. She reportedly told her sister about a man who seemed to linger near the bus stop across from her building, though she assumed he was waiting for a ride. None of this seemed threatening at the time. Investigators began building a list of potential individuals connected to Mira's daily routine. Delivery drivers, maintenance staff, former co-workers, gym acquaintances, anyone with reason to cross her path regularly. One name repeatedly resurfaced: a former co-worker, Evan Caro, who had resigned abruptly months earlier. Evan was described as intelligent but socially withdrawn, someone who struggled with boundaries and occasionally misread social cues. Mira had assisted him with project tasks at work, and according to a friend, Evan had expressed admiration for her organization and calm demeanor. Nothing inappropriate, but enough for co-workers to take note. When investigators attempted to contact Evan, they discovered he had moved out of his apartment the previous week. The timing was suspicious, though not conclusive. His forwarding address led to a rental home in a nearby town. He agreed to speak with officers voluntarily. According to the official summary, he seemed nervous but cooperative. He claimed he had not seen Mira since leaving the company. His alibi for the night of the disappearance was uncertain. He stated he had been driving around to clear his head, unable to recall specific locations. His behavior wasn't illegal, but it was unusual. Investigators obtained phone records shortly afterward. A pattern emerged. Evan's phone had traveled through Overton Ridge several times in the days leading up to Mira's disappearance. His device had connected to towers within a half-mile radius of her workplace on 4 separate evenings. Again, none of this was proof of wrongdoing, but it created a pattern that mirrored some of Mira's own small comments. Someone in the area at odd hours. Someone whose presence she noticed without understanding the significance. The breakthrough came 6 days into the investigation. A business 2 blocks from Mira's apartment had recently installed a new employee entry system with built-in motion sensors that stored short, silent video clips. Investigators retrieved the logs from the night of the disappearance. At 9:17 p.m., the sensor activated. A car's headlights swept across the lot. The vehicle paused for several seconds before pulling forward. The grainy outline matched the general shape of the SUV seen trailing Mira earlier. But what mattered most was a distinctive decal on the lower right corner of the rear window, a small white triangle. This was enough to obtain a warrant. When the warrant was issued for Evan's vehicle, investigators found that his SUV, a dark gray mid-sized model, had the same triangular sticker on the back window. Inside the vehicle were several items: maps, notebooks, and receipts. None of them were immediately incriminating. But phone GPS data placed Evan's car along Mira's route at the same time she was last seen. At this stage, the investigation became a matter of reconstructing what might have happened. Without sensationalizing or describing harm, investigators relied on logic, movement patterns, and digital evidence. The reconstructed timeline suggested the following. Mira left the market at 9:07 p.m. The SUV was spotted near the area at 9:12 p.m. Mira reached the parking lot at 9:14 p.m. and paused. Her devices went offline at 9:19 p.m. The SUV left the area at 9:16 p.m., seconds after Mira walked out of frame. The vehicle traveled to an isolated road near the edge of town at 9:23 p.m. For investigators, the alignment of time, location, and behavior was too precise to ignore. During Evan's second interview, inconsistencies began to emerge. His explanation of his route changed. His recollection of the evening became vague. He grew visibly tense when asked about the cameras near Merton Avenue. His phone logs contradicted his statements about when and where he had been driving. At no point did investigators accuse him directly. They simply presented data, questioned discrepancies, and documented his responses. By the end of the interview, officers described him as highly inconsistent in his movements and explanations. When forensic analysts examined his vehicle more thoroughly, they found fibers matching the tote bags sold at the same store Mira shopped at. This was not definitive, as many people owned similar items. But paired with GPS data and his shifting story, it became part of a pattern. The key moment came when investigators accessed his deleted phone data. Among the recovered fragments was a series of searches about surveillance camera locations in Overton Ridge dated 2 days before Mira vanished. Another search query referenced walking routes from her workplace to her apartment. None of this proved intent, but it suggested preoccupation. Based on the totality of evidence, digital traces, conflicting statements, vehicle placement, and behavioral patterns, Evan was arrested on suspicion of involvement in Mira's disappearance. The legal process unfolded slowly. Prosecutors built their case largely on circumstantial evidence supported by digital forensics. No confessions, no eyewitnesses, and no direct proof of harm. The focus remained entirely on behavior, movement, and contradictions. In court, Evan's defense argued he was socially anxious, misunderstood, and prone to obsessive habits but not violent behavior. They claimed he frequently drove around at night to cope with stress. They insisted the overlap with Mira's route was coincidence, not intent. They emphasized the lack of physical evidence. Prosecutors countered by highlighting the timeline, the proximity of his vehicle, the phone tower data, the deleted searches, and the fact that he had no clear reason to be in the same part of town at the same time Mira disappeared. They presented expert testimony about digital behavior patterns and preoccupation in cases involving targeted attention. The trial lasted 3 weeks. In the end, the court found Evan guilty of felony abduction with intent to conceal, based on overwhelming circumstantial alignment. Though the full truth of what happened in Mira's final moments was never uncovered, the jury agreed that the pattern of his behavior pointed undeniably toward involvement in her disappearance. Evan received a 28-year sentence. The community response afterward was somber. Friends and family created a small foundation in Mira's name dedicated to improving streetlight coverage and security camera access in residential areas. Her sister spoke publicly about the importance of reporting repeated concerning behavior, even when it seems harmless. Local organizations used Mira's case to raise awareness of how small warning signs, hesitation, unusual presence, unexplained appearance patterns can indicate deeper risks. Today, the footage remains archived in the police department's digital vault. Just a 5-second clip. A woman pausing on her walk home. A small detail easily missed. A moment that became the cornerstone of a much larger story. One shaped not by spectacle, but by behavior, patterns, and the quiet ways danger sometimes moves unnoticed. If you found this case informative, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. We post true crime case videos every single day. Until next time, stay sharp, stay vigilant.